A few people said it was cursed. Others simply had no idea what they were supposed to be making. First it was an Assassin's Creed expansion, now, it's Ubisoft's 8-year nightmare. Skull and Bones has been in development for almost 8 years and has already cost for the publisher more than $120 million. Skull and Bones was announced in 2017, and has since undergone several launch postponement, reboots and even the dismissal of Ubisoft Singapore CEO Hugues Ricker. One former developer said, "If Skull and Bones were at a competitor like Electronic Arts, it would have been killed 10 times already." Skull and Bones development began back in 2013, as a multiplayer expansion to Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. The expansion soon took on a life of its own, however, morphing into a full-blown MMO-like spin-off with the working title Black Flag Infinite, similar to Sea of Thieves. The project has gone through a number of different iterations. Initially, the action took place in the Caribbean, then in the Indian Ocean and even in a fantasy world called Hyperborea.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
After spending a lot of time on concepts, Ubisoft Singapore settled on the idea of a session-based PvP game. Then the player versus environment elements were introduced into the project, and then the emphasis shifted to a survival-oriented game like Rust. Another reboot took place in 2020. "No one wants to admit they fucked up," said one developer. "It's too big to fail, just like the banks in the US." Skull and Bones never had a clear creative vision and suffered from too many managers vying for power.
Seriously, what the fuck are you doing?
Nearly 8 years after it was first conceived, Skull and Bones has blown through its initial budgets, with that number continuing to balloon as hundreds of developers from other Ubisoft studios continue pitching in to try to ship the game. Electronic Arts or Square Enix, for example, probably wouldn't have attempted it in the first place. Either way, Ubisoft has bet big on. In part, that's because a deal with the Singapore government requires it. In addition to hiring a certain number of people at its Singapore studio in exchange for generous subsidies, Ubisoft Singapore must also launch original brand new IPs in the next few years. Skull and Bones was originally supposed to launch in late 2018, then sometime in 2019, then sometime after March 2020. Then sometime before March 2022, and now it's due to come out before March 2023. The rubric is based on articles by Kotaku, Gaming Bolt and 3D News.